I'm Jen.
And I'm Jen.
And this is Talk Dogs with us. 9 out of 10 dogs don't know what we're saying.
The 10th is Jude.
Yeah.
She knows what we're saying.
Yeah, she does. So, today's episode is relating to the patient in front of you or the client in front of you, the animal that you are seeing. How do you relate to them in a learning or medical or service environment?
How should you behave based on how they're behaving?
Yeah, that's the ticket.
There we go.
That's the thinking about how to think about it right there.
I mean, yeah.
That's it. That's all in one.
All right, we're done here. Goodbye. Just kidding.
See ya.
JK. This is for you. For everyone.
For everybody.
Vet staff.
Trainers.
Groomers.
Daycare.
Shelter med.
Everybody who's working with dogs. How do you behave when you're working with the dog?
You got a dog? This is for you.
You got a dog? You see a dog?
You see a dog?
You want to pet
down
that
the
dog?
street? Can I pet that dog?
You gotta look at the dog first. All right. So
Thinking about how to think about it.
yeah, the real thinking about how to think about it here, not the goofs. You should be making a decision in the moment based on how the animal's behaving. That's going to inform how you behave.
A little cause and effect here, you might say.
Mm-hmm. You're going to let their behavior kind of dictate what's going to happen.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're trying to bring their emotional state back down to comfort.
Right. We don't want to be hyping them up when we don't need to or adding fear to a situation where a dog is already uncomfortable. We want to kind of try and get the vibes in the room back to, yeah, this is all right.
Yeah, because when they're in a higher emotional state, then the negative learning happens faster. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the behavior mod, the tools that we've learned, the less intrinsic things for the dogs won't be learned or won't be reached for as easily.
Yeah, for sure.
We want to help them along wherever we can.
So we split this out in terms of emotional states for the dogs, and we kind of were letting the emotional state guide where we were at and what we were doing. So we're going to start with fight, of the fight, flight, freeze, right? We're going to start with fight. Or aggression, right? Because a dog that is reaching for aggression, offensive aggression typically, not so much defensive aggression, but offensive aggression is a fight response.
Yeah.
So these animals might move forward towards you. They might lunge.
They might be yelling.
They could be barking.
They're cursing you out, probably.
Mm-hmm. They are telling you, do not come any closer, or it's gonna be on.
Yeah. You want to make sure that you let them know that you're picking up what they're putting down.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to avert your gaze.
You're gonna make yourself kind of softer, right?
Yeah.
If there's any tension in your body, try and let it go. Kind of soften a little bit. You're going to avert your gaze, and you can also sometimes turn your body a little bit so that you're not squared off at them. I do like to keep my periphery on an animal that is moving forward because I need to assess safety in that moment. And you are also going to keep safety as a factor because if that dog isn't on leash, if that dog isn't contained, and you're in the room with them, you need to stop that interaction.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. The way that I avoid staring at them is I will sweep my vision to them, past them, and then back. Mm-hmm. And I'll kind of keep going back and forth so that I'm not staring right at them.
Yeah, like maybe if you saw a stranger with a cool tattoo or hair, you know, it would be impolite to stare right at them, but you might kind of let your gaze kind of brush across them. You might just briefly look and look away. You're not going to have that hard stare because that'd be weird.
Yeah, you're probably going to make sure that your voice is an even tone. You're going to talk as softly as you need to be heard. So if they're barking, obviously you're going to have to talk louder.
Yeah.
But if they're not barking, if they're quiet, then you mirror that by taking your voice level down, the volume down,
Yeah.
so that you're not shouting
Right.
if they're not shouting.
Right. And you're not kicking up more of a storm. A lot of times it can be hard to hear in those situations. So sometimes it can be better to have an owner put the dog in another space or step outside. Or if you step outside, use a phone to call them while they're in the room and talk them through kind of what you want to do next.
Yeah, in these situations, we're going for management for the most part.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
Create barriers, create distance, give food when available, when they'll eat it.
Sure.
If they won't eat it, then adios, we're done here.
Yeah.
No need to keep being in this space in that situation.
And a lot of people will try to do the I can't show them I'm afraid, and that's not what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
The animal isn't putting out a test for you to pass or fail. The animal is saying, I am terrified and I will make this stop any means necessary.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because a lot of times when you are trying not to be afraid, you're holding yourself higher, your back is straighter, you are stiffer. And that's not what we need here. We need you to take a deep breath. You need to be in control of your body. You need to be sure that you're safe. And then you need to be soft and still.
We actually want to, when working with dogs that are in fight, you want to subvert their expectation. Their expectation in that moment is that you are unsafe, and you want to say to them, hey, actually, I'm going to be as safe as I can so that you don't need to feel like this.
Yeah.
Right? By being bigger, scarier, or louder, we are saying, you're right. You're right. I am a threat. Bring it.
Behave in a way that they expect. That usually helps in in my experience.
Yeah. So the next one is flight or freeze. These, I feel like they kind of bleed into one another.
Yeah, which can be confusing, because when you think of a dog that's flighty, you think of them moving away a lot. They're frantic, trying to get away. But at the end of the day, we have them confined in some way.
Right.
Either to a building, a room, a leash.
Right. And they may not
pen.
be able to seek exit, so they may freeze instead because they just don't have any options.
Exactly. That's why these are kind of lumped together.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we mentioned, that could look like a dog pulling all the way to the end of the leash, hiding under a chair, going away from their owner and from you. They may sort of... recently I've had some dogs that are like exit seeking, where they are looking for the doors and they are looking for the barriers of the room to say, how do I get out of here?
Yeah, you can tell them that they are scanning the room looking for the exits. You'll see them jumping up on the windows. They'll jump on the door if there's a window there, or if they know that's the door that they came in.
Yeah, you'll see them sniffing around the door too.
Sometimes you'll see them go to things that aren't doors but look like doors. What do we want to do when we see a dog that is in flight or freeze?
So again, you're going to avert your gaze, because this isn't an animal that wants direct eye contact. In fact, I'm really thinking about an animal that does want direct eye contact, because in the animal world, it's rude.
Yeah.
That's rude, dude. For people, it's very polite for me to briefly look someone in the eye as I'm speaking to them. But for animals, I don't know the last time you've ever seen two animals in the wild lock eyes and it end well.
Yeah, it doesn't usually end well.
Nope. That's usually an invitation to take it outside. And so you want to make sure that you're not sending that signal. And I kind of avert my gaze. I do, again, keep an eye on them, because they are an animal with a big emotional response.
We're going to speak softly or not at all if we can help it.
Yeah. Obviously, if you need to relate to the client in that moment, the dog's owner in that moment, I would speak softly. I would see if the dog can take food in that moment. Sometimes when we are so amped up that we are trying to flee the scene, their nervous system has completely shut down, like any desire to eat, right? And
Yeah, they're not
like,
able to eat the food.
Yeah, it's why, like, you know, during a haunted house, they're not also serving hot dogs when you're running away from the scary clowns, because your nervous system would be like, not now, we're going to die.
I hate hot dogs, actually.
Oh, heck.
That's what ends up happening. That's that negative learning that happens.
Yeah.
Actually, we will frequently see dogs that are maybe in for a wellness and they have that flight or freeze response, you know. We use a towel for safety sometimes. Sometimes we're just holding their collar, and they develop an association with the vet care to the baby food that we're using. And when they come to see us in behavior, sometimes we can tell if they've had a hard time with vet care based on how they respond to baby food, especially because in our hospital, we all use baby food about the same.
Yeah.
So we can have that of knowing of, oh, you've seen primary care 4 times and every time you've eaten, but when you're here in this room, you can't eat the baby food if I'm close to you, but you can eat it at home.
Yeah.
We have a patient like that he actually gagged one time when I got squeezed cheese on his mouth on accident. But at home, he eats the squeezed cheese and he eats the
but in
whipped
that
cream.
Context, he said, "Oh no, that's poison."
Yep, he knows. So we're gonna want to make sure that we are staying on our feet. Crouching can be helpful, but we want to still stay safe because these dogs can reach for aggression if they become more worried
And I think
or
that
upregulated.
I think that when a dog is fleeing, if that fleeing gets interrupted or they feel cornered, that can turn into fight pretty
Yep.
quickly.
Easily,
And the
yep.
same with freeze. Freeze can be a state that we end up in. Freeze can also be a state that we wait in before we take action.
Yeah.
So freeze can be that moment when you're stunned and you go, uh-oh, there's nothing for me to do. And then if you were to reach for that dog underneath the bench, which no, you wouldn't.
Hopefully. Please don't do that.
Please don't do that. That dog would go, oh no, I have no more options left. I need to make this stop, and would land a bite.
Yep. Our next category is fawn or soliciting.
So this is where it doesn't matter as much that you're gonna like fully avert your gaze or not stare. Just don't hard stare them, right? So I would say that you're a little bit more free to like look around and gaze at them, but I wouldn't hard stare. I wouldn't like really fix your attention on their face. That can be seen as really threatening.
These are the dogs that are what I call golden retriever energy, where they are jumping all over you, trying to climb into your skin. They are basically saying, I'm just a guy with glasses. Please don't hit me. Or what's that?
Oh, you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?
There you go.
Yeah.
It has to come in Jen's voice so that it makes sense.
There you go. Yeah, those are the dogs that are just sort of like trying anything they can think of to get you not to get them, right? So like this is where you'd see an animal offer like their abdomen, and then people would go, they want a belly rub. And, you know,
They
if
definitely
you've
don't.
ever listened to the podcast before, you know dogs are not looking for belly rubs in that moment.
I'm just gonna pop that clip in real quick.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a little reminder. They don't. In that moment, an animal is exposing to you their abdomen to say, I'm just a little guy. I'm just a little guy.
Yeah, if they're jumping up on you, you want to move away, move back. Try not to move into their space, but, you know, move away, turn your body to the side, perhaps put yourself in front of like a counter or a cabinet so that they can only jump on the side of you. You can acknowledge them, but you're going to want to do it in a level voice, or you're just going to want to ignore them, because when you're hyping them up, that can be a recipe for disaster, especially if we're a dog that has arousal disorders. They
Yeah.
can't always come back down from that upregulation.
And these dogs don't necessarily think that you are safe when they're offering these behaviors. They're kind of like trying to suss it out, and they're hoping that you're safe. And so squeaking at them or like encouraging their jumping can sometimes make them feel less safe because they just don't read the room right. And so we want to just be neutral and calm and be like, I'm just here. I'm doing my job. I'm not going to get on the floor and let you, quote, give kisses.
This is probably the most important category to keep a routine with. You know, I recommend, or when I see things like this, when I walk into a exam room with a dog and it's jumping all over me, I try and get through the greeting as quick as possible and then try and get into doing something where the dog can relax and they're not as focused on me, because that time that they're focused on me is because they think I'm unsafe. And so the quicker I can get them not thinking about how unsafe I could be, the faster they will calm themselves down and be able to re-regulate.
Yeah, I do that with training as well. I actually just did that with an appointment where when I showed up, the dog was like losing her mind, trying to jump all over me, trying to physically crawl inside my treat pouch, which was suboptimal for a 60-pound pit bull. And so for her, I immediately started working her while I was talking to Dad on learning to put her paws up on a surface, because I knew we were going to do nail care and everybody wants to know about back nails. So I needed that paws up so that she could kick and scratch the back nails, which we can do nail stuff at a different time. But so by immediately giving her a job to do, that took her focus off of me coming in that whole scenario, and it gave her somewhere to kind of put that energy.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work out pretty well for her, where she could like kind of get it together a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes getting them to work right away helps them kind of refocus on things and helps them re-regulate. Also, I think it's really hard not to pet dogs that seem like they're soliciting in that way sometimes. And I think if you think that they are truly soliciting, I think that as long as it's safe to do so and you've talked to the owner and you know the history and everything, if you're going to pet them and then do a consent check. And I don't recommend petting them more than 3 or 4 times without doing a consent check, because honestly, you'll find that most dogs don't want you to pet them, and then you will...
Especially in a clinical setting.
Yeah.
It's not what they're looking for.
So, and sometimes offering that petting is what they expect of you, and so that's then how they think you're safe.
It's like their small talk.
Yeah.
It's like when you go, wow, crazy weather we're having, and then you actually don't want
Right.
to talk about atmospheric pressure.
I walked past an exam room one time, and one of the technicians was petting a dog on its belly, and I said, that dog doesn't really want belly rubs. And she said, I know, but she keeps coming to my feet and rolling over and grabbing my legs with her feet. And I was like, well, that's fair. She's asking for them. I don't think she actually wants them, but I think that in that way, when you're petting her, she sees you as safer.
She said, this is what we're supposed to do.
Right. And so that helped the dog feel better. And sometimes it's going to feel counterintuitive because...
Do you want to talk a little bit about consent checks? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, I think so. When I'm doing a consent check with a dog, I will pet them 3 to 5 times.
After they've initiated?
After they've initiated.
Okay.
So when I'm doing a consent check with a dog, I wait until they solicit
Okay.
in one way or another, whether that is leaning, whether that is physically pulling my hand with their feet to them. Sometimes it's nudging. Sometimes it's them kind of going underneath my hands. And I'll pet them 3 to 5 times where they kind of ended up with my hand.
Yeah.
And I just let that naturally be a place where I give a few scritches and then I stop and let them re-ask if they want more. So if they are able to ask again, they will. Other times they'll just walk away, which
Yeah.
I think is a great learning experience for them too, that if they don't want to be touched anymore, they can remove themselves, because most people are going to keep touching them.
Yeah. And knowing that they can remove themselves can really help.
So I frequently practice consent checks anytime I'm petting any dog anywhere.
Yeah.
And people on the street really don't know how to tolerate it when I scratch their pet 3 times and then I stop and they're like, he just loves scratches. And I'm like, yeah, he didn't ask me for them though.
Yeah.
Not anymore. So that is fawn and soliciting.
And our next one is kind of a fidget or hyper aroused animal. These animals are...
They're moving around a lot. They're bouncing off the walls.
They're going to be bouncing off the walls, right?
Sometimes they'll knock you in the face with their muzzle.
Yeah. Yeah. They feel like they can't focus. They are going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing in the room. And so that can be really hard. And again, gaze isn't like super important here, but again, avoid staring, right? With really any dog patient, because that's a rude dude. you're going to see about getting these guys working as well, or giving them something to do. So this might be the client where you are catching up with the owner and you're asking the owner about how maybe, the history of the pet or how they've been doing, or you might be asking about homework that you assigned in a previous training session, and that might be where you give the dog a chew to work on while you're talking so that they have something to do.
Yeah.
Or you might be absentmindedly working with that dog while you are while you're talking to the owner. Yeah.
Yeah. And that takes a skill to develop, but you'll get there. All you got to do is practice. You want to make sure that you're talking in a calm, even, flat tone.
Yeah.
So that you're not increasing their excitement, because that will definitely make them more aroused.
Yeah. We don't want to hype them up. This is not the dog that needs you to go puppy, 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 puppy. You're not gonna get any learning done that day. That's gonna be bad.
I think there is maybe only one scenario in which squeaking at dogs can be helpful. Let's say two scenarios. The first scenario is a dog that is really fearful and is probably in freeze, if I had to guess, and you're trying to get them to move. For whatever reason, you need to move them through the building.
Yeah.
You have to get from one space to another and you don't want to carry them. That's a time where squeaking might be helpful, but you have to watch to make sure it's not making them more worried.
Yeah.
And also the second thing is pictures. If you're trying to get them to look for a picture.
Yeah. That's
really, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah. I only ever squeak at my dog like when I get home because it's cute and it's fun to hype her up. But other than that,
Yeah.
not much.
Yeah. I think those are two pretty good scenarios there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're gonna start working these guys immediately. Getting them doing something I think can be really helpful to focus them up. And then you're gonna just again speak in that calm, even, flat tone and kind of come at it neutrally. And you're not gonna try and add fuel to a fire.
Neutral. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Neutrality.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's be chill.
Let's be chill. All right, top tips from Talk Dogs with Us. So for dogs in some of these more extreme emotional states, you could do a meeting on Zoom to kind of discuss management options before you meet. You could hop on a phone call with them so that the owner has, a setup, has a kind of a rules of engagement so that when you get to the house or when they bring the pet in, they know what's going to happen. The other thing is you could send your discharge instructions or your homework instructions via email instead of standing there discussing them with the person, or as a backup if the animal was barking a lot of the time, right? You're going to send those discharges so that they remember, oh yeah, I couldn't actually hear this part because my dog was barking, but now I know what I'm supposed to do for my homework.
When we are working with dogs in a shelter, we can assume that they are super stressed. Potentially the most stressed they've ever been in their lives.
For sure.
So you want to be more careful because there's less wiggle room for pushing them. And usually there are fewer safety resources. There might be less people around. There might be no walkie-talkies, things like that. We want to make sure that we're using caution anytime we're working with a dog that lives in a shelter.
Yeah.
Just
I've definitely
because
done,
the shelter's so stressful.
Yeah. I've definitely done assessments alone. Somebody was in an office across the hall, but they weren't in the room with me to see any smaller things. And obviously that's not optimal, but during COVID we were a little,
sometimes there's only so much you can do.
our hands were a little tied. So yeah, being extra safe in those situations. Like if I had any inkling that what I was doing was unsafe, I would immediately call the person in the hall across the street from me, have them come over and sit in the room with me, or say, hey, I'm going to take this dog back. Can you just keep an eye?
Yeah.
But yeah, using extra caution in those kind of scenarios can be really helpful because, some of the big emotional feelings can flip over into other feelings really quickly. In a daycare situation, you just want to be aware that like one dog's big feelings can impact the group.
Everything affects the dynamic of the group.
Yeah. And so you just want to be aware of those.
Or even when you're working with a client with multiple dogs, you know, that's something that I do warn, you know, when my friends ask me questions about their multi-dog households, there's always a little warning in there that's like, hey, just remember, anytime you change something for one dog, that changes the dynamics of the group.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's for the good, sometimes it's for the worse, sometimes it's neutral. Sometimes you can't even perceive what those options might be until it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So just being aware of those things, being mindful, and then don't be afraid to change your approach. If you come in and you are always squeaking at this one dog and you come in a little bit differently and maybe your first instinct is to squeak at that dog again and you want to try something different, don't be afraid to adjust right there in the minute.
Yeah. Notice how your behavior changes their behavior and vice versa.
And, you know, being aware of what your body is doing when you enter a room can be really helpful if you have the space to do it.
Absolutely.
Today's episode, we were talking about relating to patients and basically check your vibes. Check your vibes and then check their vibes. And then bounce your vibes off their vibes.
It's all vibes here.
It's just, oops, all vibes.
If it's not vibing, just call it quits and let's do a Zoom.
Yep. Don't be afraid to time out.
Zoom doesn't work, let's do a phone call.
Put a flag on the play and get out of there.
Phone call doesn't work, why don't you try someone else? I think by that point, you've exhausted all the options that I'm able to offer. I think you should try someone else.
Yeah. Refer back to the asking for help episode. Oh, good night. Say good night, Irene.
This
Good night,
has been
Irene.
Talk Dogs with Us.
Talk Dogs with Us is an informational podcast and not a substitute for qualified medical advice.
Are you a pet professional or parent looking to learn more and challenge your current assumption about our pets? Then let's go on this journey together at our website, talkdogswithus.com. Give us a bark at Facebook and Instagram at Talk Dogs With Us. You can help keep the conversation going by subscribing to our Patreon, patreon.com/talkdogswithus, or buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/talkdogswithus. Art direction by Alex Oren, theme song and audio engineering by Stephen Rossblock. Check out more from him at stephenrossblock.com. Thanks for listening.